What if I told you transparency isn't optional? It's your biggest competitive advantage. Today's guest is my guy, Daniel Majure. He's the president of Last Mile Strategies and an absolute badass rule breaker in the world of channel sales. We're going to be talking about some no BS truth about the power of not just transparency, radical transparency, and how it's crucial between partners, suppliers, and customers for growth. We're going to also talk about how to dominate your niche and not just be another quote guy. Quote guys are going out of style. You got to do more. You got to be more. You got to be better. Listen, this one's going to be one hell of a wild ride. So buckle up. We're about to flip the script and challenge everything that you thought you knew about succeeding in channel sales.
Here to show up and show out. 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 Yeah. Here to show
Welcome to Shut the Hell Up and Sell Unfiltered, the podcast that's not afraid to tackle the uncomfortable truths and bad habits that keep you from reaching your potential. I'm your host, Ronnell Richards, award-winning sales expert, author, and top influencer in technology channel sales. Each week, I sit down with industry influencers and top performers for bold, honest conversations that are designed to cut through the noise and deliver real, actionable advice that you can apply immediately to grow your career and boost your sales success. No fluff, no excuses, just real talk, real influencers, and real results. Let's get into it.
Here to show up and show out. Here to show up and show out. Yeah.
Daniel, what is going on, my guy?
Not much. I figure I'd top off the cup of coffee for this conversation.
You know what? Yeah, get the coffee going. For those of you that are tuning in, get your coffee going. I don't care if it's morning, if it's afternoon, if it's night, you're going to want to make sure that you are highly caffeinated so that you can receive what's about to go down here. Daniel, I got to tell you, I've been excited to have this conversation with you, as I am excited to have conversations with everyone that we put on this platform, because this is a platform for the courageous, for those of us that are willing to stand up and have conversations about those uncomfortable truths. And you know, you and I have had some conversations about uncomfortable truths many, many times. And so I know what to expect. They don't know what to expect. You know, actually, I don't know what to expect. That's the whole thing with you.
We could end up anywhere. This is going to be dangerously fun. I like it. So,
as we get this thing started, you are someone that I just have a ton of respect for in our business. You've been very successful as a TA, and part of the reason that I believe that you have is just your approach to the business. We are in a business where there's a lot of legacy folks who have a hard time adjusting and evolving and adapting and want to just do things the way they've always done it. And you bring a fresh approach. You're not afraid of tech. You embrace tech. And I like to think that's a big part of your success. All right. But before we get into the business, I got to get people a little bit better acquainted with you. And the best way to do that, in my opinion, is through some hot seat Q&A. All right. So I'm going to hit you with some questions that you have not been prepped for.
Okay.
You ready for this?
Yeah.
All right. First question. This is an easy one for you. I need a hobby that you spend way too much money on.
Oh, that's easy. That's easy. I actually only have two hobbies. I don't play golf. I have two primary hobbies, and I spend way too much money on both of them. The first takes place before 2 p.m. in the afternoon, and that's coffee. I currently have 17 different beans at my coffee bar right now from all over the planet. And I don't keep beans for more than 4 weeks. So it's not like I've been sitting on stuff for months. I'm constantly bringing stuff in. I've got about 46 different ways to brew a cup of coffee these days at my bar, which is that is my primary hobby. And I will own a coffee shop when I retire. That's just a statement of fact. The other one is
you already own enough. You already own enough coffee shop equipment. You already have a coffee shop. Okay. Full disclosure. I have been to your home and folks, just a little bit of insight. I fancy myself a bit of a fancy coffee dude, right? And so I had a conversation with Daniel, and I'm like, well, yeah, we're talking about coffee. And I'm like, yeah, I rock with coffee, man. And yeah, I got 5 different ways to make coffee. I got this, I got that. And all just, humbly and low key, he asked me, well, what sort of grinder do you use? I said, what do you mean what kind of grinder? I mean, I got this little, $25, $30 grinder. And he's like, oh, okay. Well, what about a cortical grinder? I said, huh? What? And cortical grinder. Man, this guy has, so you invite me to your house for a coffee tasting. And this guy has more ways to make coffee and understands the science in ways that made me feel very inferior. I'm like, damn.
Hey now.
So I've never said like I'm a coffee dude since that moment, because I'm afraid that I'm going to get like called on the carpet like I did with you.
Now, actually, I do fancy myself the king of segues, so I'm just going to give this might be a good segue if you want it, but I'm not here to coffee shame. My quote is, I want you to enjoy the coffee that you enjoy the way that you enjoy it. For some people, that's the bag of Folgers that they have in the morning that they've had for the past 30 years, and that's great. My favorite cup of coffee is my next new cup of coffee. And
hold on.
Gotcha.
Bullshit. Bullshit. I've seen the amount of work you put into making a cup of coffee. I feel like, and you bring it on the road with you, bro. Stop it.
Hey, I want some okay. So this morning I'm actually I'm having this is like a cherry co-fermentation from some offshoot roaster out of North Carolina. This is just my normal. I didn't make a special cup of coffee to get on the call with you. This is my normal cup of coffee.
I know.
And so
that's what I'm saying.
But like, I'm chasing these obscure, like apricot notes in the back end finish of a cup of coffee. And that's just what I like. I've been fortunate enough to have good and great and exceptional coffee. And once you have it, then you want to find it. So that's how I stumbled into that hobby.
So do you make frappuccinos in your house, or?
I can.
Do you?
I can. Yeah. I don't for me, but if I have company over, I will. I've got a killer alcoholic cafe con leche that I can make with the espresso machine, little cafe Cuban coffee with some alcohol in it. It's a good afternoon cup, but.
All right, guys. So there you go. There's the first thing you need to know about Daniel. Coffee. Don't have a conversation about coffee with him unless you want to talk for about an hour and a half, because he can go in.
I mean, a lot of people don't want to have uncomfortable conversations that change their standards about things. If you want to talk with me about coffee, I'll move you forward.
Hell yeah. All right. Next question. DC or Marvel?
Oh, Marvel.
Why?
Because if you met me today, you wouldn't believe this, but I was undersized all the way through high school. So there is a real bond with the Peter Parker Spider-Man situation. So just growing up, like heroes that are still people has more of a correlation to me. So it goes back to comics, not just cinematics. So there's some great DC movies, but I'll pick Marvel.
Okay, so you're not a Batman guy, because Batman's kind of like a normal, rich guy with a bunch of,
Except for the rich part.
No, you're right.
Infinite
normal
money,
rich guy.
Yeah, just a totally normal billionaire across the street. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So before I get to the next question, if there was a real life Batman today, who would it be? Because Batman, billionaire, industrialist. Of the people in our world, who's most likely to be Batman?
You're going to think I'm insane, but it's mainly just because people underestimate how wealthy he is and how much he won at life. But if I had to pick someone to be Batman, it's not going to be any of the big names you think of. It's going to be the guy who's won in life and career and just does whatever he wants. So he'd be able to go out and be Batman. It'd be Adam Sandler. I'm going hard with Adam Sandler, who has won at both life and business.
Adam Sandler. Okay. All right. I'll take that. Okay. One more question. Let's just stay with the superhero thing. Okay. If you could have one superpower, just one, what would it be?
This feels like more like therapy than I wish. Let's go. Time travel, man. I want to see what stuff ends up looking like. So if I had to go with a superpower, it would be cool. I'm gonna walk up to a door. That door goes anywhere forward or back, and I'm in that location at that time.
Okay, that is surprising to me. Why?
Man, I at my core, I feel like I'm a little bit more of an optimist. And so I want to see where we end up. I think we're constantly going better places. That I know that there's a bunch of really cool stuff that'll take place in the future that I'll never be able to see. And that would be really cool to kind of see what that looks like. Also, I love learning from our mistakes and learning from the past and seeing.
Would you kill Hitler?
I would not. I would only be able to go check stuff out. Like, I'm going to go catch an original Shakespeare show. Like, you want to talk about the best date ever.
So it would be, so you'd have to have rules. Like, you can't change history.
No, because as soon as you do, you're crossing the line.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I'm not gonna go get the almanac and come back and
you're not going to do a Back to the Future.
No.
I'm telling you what, man. That would be very tempting. I think I would have to do that. I think I would absolutely have to.
I'm not saying I wouldn't make some strategic investments, but I would. I wouldn't take it to the sites. I'm sure there's an algorithm that tracks for time travel.
You know what? If you break one rule, you might as well break them all. Like, what's the line?
Hey, that's a good point.
Time traveling assassin? Come on, man. Like, but assassin for good?
You asked me what superpower I would want. You did not ask me which one I could be trusted to have. Okay.
Well, you're a Spider-Man guy, so you understand with great power comes great responsibility.
There you go. All
right. Okay. Dude, that was fun. Yeah, I hope you all learned a little bit of something about Daniel through that. Peter Parker, coffee, and time traveling Spider-Man who drinks coffee. That's going to be the name of this episode. All right.
I don't hate it.
Listen, let's get into the subject of why we're here. So this whole show exists for one reason. I feel a responsibility to our community. I feel as someone that's been in this space for over a couple of decades, as someone that has a platform to lead in a way that is going to help us to evolve. It's going to help us to get to that next level. It's going to help us to get through these obstacles that we're currently facing. Some things are being talked about, mostly in back rooms. They're not being talked about up front and center. And I feel like we can't get to where we need to be until we have these honest conversations and we look in the mirror and we say, hey, listen, we got to fix this shit. And here's the truth of the matter. In my humble opinion, there are things that are happening in our space right now. There are old habits, bad habits that if we don't correct, we could be looking like the damn Titanic. We built this beautiful ship, right? When I started in this business, Daniel, a couple decades ago, it was much, much smaller. And we fought so hard for credibility. We fought so hard to be respected. And we got there because when Wall Street came knocking and said, hey, here's money, that was credibility, that was respect. So with that Wall Street investment, with the big guys looking at us, there's an increased responsibility, there's an increased expectation. And guess what? They don't invest money to lose money. And so we have to evolve. We got to do better. We have to take this to the next level. Otherwise, this big ship that we've created could crash into a big ass iceberg. So with that said, as someone that I respect tremendously, Daniel, I respect you for your courage. I respect you for your willingness to speak truth to power and for the success that you've had in our business. I want to ask you, we're coming straight out with it. Tell me, what do you feel right now is, from your perspective, the biggest gap that we face? I know there are multiples, but I want to get into the biggest gap from your perspective, and then let's talk about how we address it.
I've got a couple thoughts on this one. If I had to attack the biggest one from my perspective, man, I really I've pondered this question over because we're a couple weeks off channel partners. It's the same, lots of conversations with different people about things. I'm going to be honest. I One of the main things I see that is still one of the biggest gaps in the channel today. Wait for it. It's going to be the one we started with. It's transparency. And I mean that to expound on that if I can, right? When we talk about what defines a great partner in our business from my partner, from a TA, from a partner perspective, great partners, we know advocate for their customers, right? Those are table stakes to become a partner. That's a known entity, right? But great partners also remove obstacles from the paths of their suppliers because they are so sure that that is the right fit for their customer, right? We'll just look at it from that perspective. They're doing right fits. They're not doing pushes, and they're not, in my opinion, they're not spiff chasing to hit revenue targets and some of these other things. So they're doing right fit, right place. And because of that, I think that there's a lens of transparency that takes place that can be communicated to both sides of that. It can be communicated to the customer experience. It can be communicated to the supplier experience. But this thing's got layers, man. When we start talking about TSDs and we start talking about a couple of those hot topics that are floating around suppliers and TSDs today, when we talk about those relationships and those interactions, where are we being fully transparent with where those relationships are? And that's just my question. And so I think that's the thing that, that's where I would kind of start the conversation and then go from there, because it hits every single one of those layers in the channel.
When you say transparency, let's dig into that. What do you mean by transparency? Do you mean transparency between TSD suppliers and partners? Or, I mean, let's dig into that a little bit. Like, what does that mean to you?
Let's start from the ground up, right? Let's start from the TA level. How did when we talk about the past 20 years and how this business started, think about how a lot of these transactional partners started their business. It's, oh, hey, let me get you 3 quotes. Oh, let me do it for free. Let me find the best fit. You don't need to waste your time with that. That was the sales pitch that a lot of the channel was built on when we think about it back in the day. It wasn't, in my opinion, sales have changed, right? The average buyer age has shifted down. It's almost 30. And so the buyer is much more aware that there is a commission piece that takes place off of these recommendations today versus 20 years ago. Do you agree or disagree? Do you think that that's a known entity now, or do you think that's an unknown entity?
I'd say it's a bit of a mixed bag. Yeah, I'm not so certain. I'd love to see some data around it.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I can answer that question accurately.
I spend way too much time studying YouTube as like as an analogy to where the channel goes and where the channel is versus where YouTube has been built out, and like that commission. If you talked about commissioning a product on YouTube 10 years ago, you would actually lose viewer count. Now the culture is, man, everybody's got their side hustle. Think about it. When you engage with social media, everybody's like, yeah, no, that makes sense. You're making a recommendation to us. We appreciate it. And so I don't know that for the majority of partners, that transparency has shifted and has become a direct talking point. It's one of a lot of conversations I have. It's one of those, hey, it's part of us doing business. You think of, we talk about legacy partners, and we talk about how there's still a lot of them still struggle with order taking. They really do. They take orders. They don't sell products.
Now, you want me to be 100%?
Yeah.
Let's be 100. This is what we do in this. You want to know why? Because that's how a lot of them listen. Guys, when you listen to this show, we're going to talk about shit that nobody else is going to talking about. I've been in this business for over 2 decades. Let me tell you something. Information, transparency, like Daniel's talking about, Nobody tells the truth. A lot of these, I don't want to generalize, but we'll say a good chunk of legacy partners. You guys want to know how they got into this business, how they got successful? Because someone was feeding them deals, right? Someone was feeding them deals. They weren't doing the things that you need to do now and that you guys are trying out to do, to go out there and sell new business, provide value and all that. Nope. They had somebody on the inside, and that person on the inside was like, here's deals. And they started writing business. And then lo and behold, magically, a couple of years later, that person on the inside starts working for them on the outside. And then they just keep doing the same thing, trying to get people on the inside, pass deals to them. And that's that's a little dirty secret that a lot of people don't know, but now you know. It breeds the transactional mindset. Just that's where I'm going with that. It breeds it. So that transactional mindset has kept to this day. And that's why a lot of these legacy partners, some of these guys are challenged with the evolution because they've never really been solution sellers.
Well, they don't know how to actually add a value layer to the customer, right? There's a few things here. One, value is always determined by the buyer. You've got to add value to be able to transact. It's just the nature of it. And if your value is, I can pull 3 quotes for fiber at your location, that you're offering in the modern channel, you're offering let me pull 3 different UCaaS providers to you. And that is the minimum amount of value that you can add as a partner. If you go in, like, Ronnell, I live in a niche, right? I know, like, I transact in a niche, and that's where my sales cycle. I know a specific vertical better than I would argue anybody else in the channel, and I will hop on and have a conversation about it. But I've been able to go in and add value because I understand the back end operations of these businesses in a way that a lot of their operators don't even understand.
Yes.
And so when I turn around and say, hey, this is what we should look at, this is why, and it's not the talking track, it is the business itself that drives that conversation. I joke, I haven't sold anything in years, man. I haven't sold anything in years because all I do is solve for operational issues. And it's a very different way. And it's a way that you're able to move higher value sales, higher value contracts. You're not taking the orders. And so I think that the transparency there from my perspective, from a partner perspective, is, hey, I'm adding value to you here. We get some sort of recommendation, referral, commission bonus on that we do. And we do that because we know that we're marrying the right businesses to the right customers, and we're solving for that. And so I think that transparency layer starting there is where the channel ultimately will end up. I don't think it's one of those things that'll happen with time. If I go buy a house, the commissions are fully disclosed. They just are. If I do, in a number of different markets, I think that's another number of different verticals that is a known instead of an unknown. And so I think that we'll get there. It's just a matter of how long it takes for us to get there and whether or not something breaks before we have to get there.
Do you feel that, so is it your opinion that I'm still, I got to keep it 100 with y'all. I struggle with the TA term because I know to some it's I was talking to Patrick Oborn, and he corrected me and clarified that, hey, the Talaris, for example, TA is a technology advisor, whereas Avant coined that term, trusted advisor. And so now we're kind of just distilled it to DTA, and depending on who's saying it, it has a different meaning. I don't love the term just because I'll tell you why I don't love it. I don't love it because in my mind, because it started, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it started with Avant and their trusted advisor thing. And I hate that term. All due respect to them, I hate it, but here's why I don't like it. Because I feel like we don't model that in from a supplier and TSD level the way that we should. And here's what I mean by that. So as a trusted advisor, Daniel, what do you expect? A trusted advisor means what? That means someone that you are intimately involved with that person's business, right? With that client's business. You're helping with strategy. They trust you. And trust is something that's earned, and it's deeper than just a paycheck. And so I've heard that term pushed out, but it's being pushed out by people that are largely not modeling that behavior.
Do you want to take it another layer?
Go.
Why do you think the TSDs pushed that term? They pushed that term because the greatest weakness in the sales cycle for in the channel as a whole is the TA. It's the partner. Why do you think so many TSDs have slammed so many resources behind sales engineering resources? Yes, it's to equip the partners, but it is also to bridge the gap between the weakest part in that sales cycle and get 100%. A professional seller in front of the customer as quickly as possible to help bridge the gap.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
Back to transparency. Like, that's one of those things that they've all done it on the back end. I don't think it's a negative thing. They noticed a weakness in the sales cycle and they've solved for it. But if partners would take more ownership of their own impact in that sales cycle instead of, oh, I don't understand this. Like, they look for the excuses to not make themselves uncomfortable to learn to sell a new thing. They just want to slot in a resource on a call and be like, yeah, that's right. Well, we'll send you the contract next Tuesday. And so I think that's one of the reasons that some of that verbiage started getting pushed down, because they were clearly defining the roles in the sales cycle and highlighting the weaknesses.
So here's where I'll go with that. I don't know about the verbiage, but the action, to your point of putting all those resources in place to be able to hopefully create an environment, and a transactional environment, create more sticky business, because you're able to provide more of a solution if that TA isn't capable of doing it on their own. Totally logical. My issue with the disconnect is that a trusted advisor, again, is someone that's intimately involved with someone else's, with their client's business. And in our industry, that is largely not the case from suppliers and beyond, meaning that they're very product centric. They really don't understand what matters the most to a TA like you. They're not spending enough time to really understand your business, to understand what success is to you, irrespective of their product, and weaving themselves into your success. That's what a true trusted advisor. That's what I coach to, and all the time with the sellers that I work with is, hey, listen, customers don't, and I speak from experience, again, 2 decades. I can't tell you how many times I had channel managers come into my office from a new company or represent a new product. And I'd sit there and say, hey, listen, if I'm going to put resources to selling your product and service, how can you help me to be successful with you? And I got to tell you, 99% of the time they got shit for me. They got nothing for me. And really what I'm wanting is, I'm wanting to not be your guinea pig. I'm wanting you to invest time in me, and let's go to market together. But our way of addressing that right now is 2 ways. One, we throw MDF, which that's fine, but it's created this weird sort of situation where partners who aren't even successful yet are requesting and requiring MDF. And so suppliers are kind of pissed off about that and like, hey, you haven't done anything for me. But these partners are just part of the environment that we've built. They don't even understand that, you know what's more important than MDF dollars? That they spend time with you and work on a plan, a go-to-market plan together, that they bring best practices. And that's what you should be able to do if you're a supplier. You've got a whole book of successful partners already. What are they doing? Talk about transparency. Back to your original point. That's one of the things that pissed me off for years. I'm like, why the hell you coming into my office? You want me to sell your shit? Why the hell am I having to figure this out all on my own? Like, you have successful partners, best practices. What are people doing there's enough business for all of us.
So I was having an interesting conversation yesterday with a partner, and we were talking about the marriage of strategy and execution, right? And where you've got to have both of them together. You can't just have one or the other. I think that MDF is is a very specific implementation of a specific strategy, but it's got to make sure it correlates to the right execution point. And so that it actually gets somewhere. This worked in the past, or this worked previously. This has some sort of return on it.
Thank you.
But like, be targeted, be strategic, and with somebody who can execute. And I mean that, as a partner, but I'm also weird in that I think we should focus on the partnerships that make the most sense to your customers. That I think 95% of customers can't actually tell me what their ideal customer profile is. They can't. They can't do it. They want to say, oh, it's a multi-site, multi-location healthcare from $100 million in top line revenue to $2 billion in top line revenue. Cool. Focus. I want a list of 10 companies that are your ideal customer profile, and I want you to build out from there. I think partners want to go wide because they see how vast the opportunity is. The same with channel managers and suppliers. They want to go wide because they see how wide the opportunity is. Best advice I was ever told: riches are in the niches. It's cliche, but find your spot that you can excel in and attack it. Don't go after everything because you're going to lose everything.
Daniel, what great. That's terrific advice, man. And that's something that I spend in the coaching and consulting that I do. I spend a whole lot of time on that. My ICP modeling tool is 37 questions. It's 37 questions. Why is it 37 questions? Because, when we're out there selling in the marketplace, whether we are a partner or whether we're a channel manager, most channel managers, we'll use channel manager for example. Most channel managers, they don't need, 20 new partners a month, right? Their number may be 20. They don't need 20 new partners. They need 3 Daniels. They need those people that they're uniquely qualified to serve, and they're a really great fit, and they can drive revenue through. Mm-hmm. So if that's the case, you got to do way more work to understand who your ICP is and understand who's the very best fit for you and them, so you can start speaking directly to them. Now, I want to circle back on something that you mentioned, because I think it's super important, and some advice for folks as it relates to MDF. 2 major issues I see with MDF, and from the partner side and from the supplier side. 1, suppliers, stop using MDF as a reward and start using it to develop new partners. Okay. Just use it we have this massive group of new people that are in our space that need you now. I need that investment. Now, here's the thing: from partners, have a goddamn plan. Okay. Don't just go expecting MDF dollars without a well worked out, well refined plan. So my advice to both parties is: suppliers, identify partners that you think have growth potential, right? Like they've got the right mindset, they've got the hunger, they've got the desire to succeed, and work together to create a plan of how to use MDF dollars in ways that can help them to be successful, and make it detailed. Stop doing like the very least, like, oh, here's $5,000 to go to to exhibit at some conference. Like it's so basic.
It's so weird. It's almost like you're telling channel managers and channel teams to have an ideal customer profile that's focused and defined, just like the partner should have to sell to their business. It's almost like that's what you're saying. That's almost what I'm hearing from you. It's almost like these channel managers don't have a plan. They're given a list of 1,000 partners or 5,000 partners, and they just start dialing down it and praying they can get a meeting together. Define it. Are you a supplier that works better with a partner that is structured inside of an MSP? Great. Do you have a product that works better with a consulting partner that adds different value? Focus on those. Don't treat them the same.
Brother, they don't know. They've never done the work. That's why they spend a whole bunch of money traveling around the country, going to TSD events, kissing a whole bunch of frogs, trying to find princes. They've never done the work. That's why we built the blueprint. That's why I built the blueprint training program. We spent a year on that. It's 16 modules, and a big part of it is helping them to identify their ideal partner profile, because they don't know. They think they should be they know a little bit, but not enough to really be successful. And they're not putting any action around that to make sure if someone, identifies that, hey, Daniel's a good fit for me. And there are ways to identify this, again, through doing the questionnaire and all that sort of thing. Understand that Daniel's my guy. Well, then stop trying to speak to Daniel, Jenny, and Josh, and Timmy, and Tom, and Jamal. Speak to Daniel, because you only need Daniels.
I know a little bit about concrete, and I could probably pour a 4x4 pad in my backyard, but that doesn't mean you want me building the interstate running through Atlanta. Yeah. And so knowing a little bit, sure, is helpful for understanding the project and the situation, but you gotta know more. You always have to know more with everything.
Okay. So Daniel, circling back to your initial point, let's focus on some productivity and helping the community. Going back to that transparency, how can we do better? With some direction, with some advice, what you got?
I think that one of my quotes I've been saying for years is narrative is everything in the channel. And so I think from a partner perspective, if you want to make your day easier, don't inflate narrative with supplier just to get attention and a free dinner. Be transparent in where your pipeline is. Be transparent with where you are. I think with suppliers, don't inflate narrative. If you don't if your product solves X perfectly, then lean into that. Don't come to me and say, we can do this and this and this. And for every and you tell me, I tune out. And so because not everybody is great at everything. It's just the nature of it. There are one of the latest topics you want to talk about transparency in the channel. One of the especially with the advent of new technologies, one of the main conversations we have over and over again lately is platform sales versus targeted solution sales for a product. And so there are a few great platform plays across the space for that exist. There are some really exceptional targeted solves in the space. I'm going to try not to ramble on you too quick, but I'm going to rapid fire this for you. That way you've got it. Because I think one of the most important things you can do is, if you're a partner, what are you doing diversifying at the TSD? Stop wasting your time. Stop wasting your time. That is a massive waste of time. Diversify where it matters. Diversify at the supplier and diversify at the customer. They're the two most impactful things that you can do to your business, instead of just saying, cool, I want to have dinner with you. I want to go to this President's Club. I want to go to this President's Club. I want to go to this President's Club. That is one layer of this of being transparent in your relationships and saying, because if any of the big TSDs have a problem, they all have the same problem. There's just no way around that. And so stop having to leverage so many different relationships, because that takes time that you could be spending on your customer relationships, which is going to have a more direct impact on your revenue and what you really want to solve at the end of the day. So
That is interesting. That's interesting. That is, I don't think something that a lot of people think about. Because, it's one of the worst kept secrets in our business, which is agent exclusivity, right? And how it doesn't exist, right? A lot of agents have agreements with every TSD. Now, they may not do business with them, or they diversify that business. Devil's advocate, what's the logic behind diversifying the business with various TSDs from your perspective?
One of the conversations I hear is don't want to put all. The first conversation I hear on the surface is we don't want to put all our eggs in one basket. Okay, cool. If you're a partner, let's get serious about it. Do you have more than $1 million in commissions a month coming into you? Because if you're not over that threshold, then you're wasting your time diversifying. And so if you're under that, where you know some of the data better than I do, the overwhelming majority of the partners are under that number, right? I would argue 95%. And so what you end up with, because of how the go-to-market strategy is from the TSDs, it's hey, come to my party, come to my dinner, I'm going to do this really cool thing. I'm going to invite you. I want to come and do this. That's great. But you're just chasing okay, carrot stick. There's a cheap gym metaphor I can make here that I think that sits. If I go have a cinnamon roll every day and I don't go to the gym, what's the point? When you go to all of these all of these channel events, but you don't actually talk to customers, it's the exact same thing. It's the exact same thing. You're giving yourself the reward without the other. A lot of not, and I don't think it's as bad as it used to be, to be quite honest, but I also live inside of my own bubble. We all have our own bubbles, and I do live inside my own. So that might just be my opinion, but it's you always want to go do the cool thing. Cool, I want to go to the championship game. Cool, I want to go to Augusta. Cool, I want to like go do this thing. And so, but you end up having to foster all these different relationships. And those relationships that you have to foster from a company level and from a personal level carry intrinsic burden, right? You can only maintain so many relationships at a certain level consistently. It's only a maximum number of people that you can constantly interact with. And so if you're having to say, hey, this partner, that this TSD relationship I'm going to foster here, this one I'm going to foster here, this one I'm going to foster here, like it just doesn't, it wears on you. I would tell you, like I've said earlier, spend that time working on customer relationships. Spend that time working on strategic supplier relationships. Because cool. All right, let me dive into that another layer if you're good with it real quick.
Go.
So how many products, how many suppliers does a good partner push into a single customer or help solve, I would actually prefer to say, into a single customer? How many products do you think that is? How many different suppliers?
Okay, so it's twofold. How many do they, and how many should they?
How many do they? Because my finish line is how many should they? So
okay. So maybe three.
4. I remember back in the days where you walked on water if you did 5. And like there's now so many things in the channel that you can help legitimately add value to your customer and solve a problem for them. I'm not saying push unnecessary junk. I'm saying actually solve a business problem for your customer. That number should easily be north of 10.
You are absolutely right. That is that's why what we're doing, this platform needs to happen, because we need a cultural shift. A lot of them are struggling with that because they're transactional selling. They're not really solution selling, where, we should be selling based upon technology stack. And instead we're selling individual products, which what that does is that pigeonholes you, right? Mm-hmm. So now you're the bandwidth guy. You're the UCAS guy. You're not the tech solution guy. And I've been saying this thing, Daniel, I've been saying this to suppliers as well. When suppliers come to me for help and consulting and trying to figure out their marketing strategies, I'm like, hey, listen, what you need to do is you need to find 5 companies that you've got great alignment for a tech stack, right? Mm-hmm. Where your products complement each other. And with that, do road shows, do go to market together, go talk to partners together, so that you are enabling these partners with technology stacks that are going to help them to grow faster, help them to create better solutions, and to help your business grow faster because now you're aligned with these other companies.
Mm-hmm. I would also say, do you believe we have more partners now than ever or less?
Oh, definitely more.
So because we have more partners, you're going to run into more partners more often. So if you're literally just the 3-circuit guy, or here's the UCAS options, if you're selling the same places you've always sold to the IT director and on the technology and on the product offering as a partner, cool. Where's your special value add? There's not. And so if you want to stand out, you stand out by me personally.
Oh, what a great point. What a great point.
Oh man, without getting too deep into it, I run into partners all the time. And to be honest, 99% of the time, I actually try to leave their books intact for them because I don't care. I'm stepping over what their full sell was. So their full sell was connectivity, SD-WAN, whatever. Great. Fantastic. You did a good job. I'm not even going to mess with it. I'm stepping over it and I'm selling more advanced products deeper inside the customer that has a much more impactful operational change, because I know in 3 years, I'll come back and clean that stuff up when it turns.
What a great point. Oh, I don't want, okay, let's go back to that, because that's a great point and a great piece of advice for partners out there. And to be clear, when we're talking about partners, we're not about anybody that sells in the channel, right? MSPs, consultants, all that. Okay.
Direct customer interaction points.
So what I don't want to get missed in that is, I know, and you guys will just have to take my word for it. This is one of the reasons why I wanted to lead this conversation and start this show, is I wanted it to be a show where, led by a true influencer in the space, check my credentials, that conversating with other influencers about what's really going on. So you guys will have to take my word for it when I share information that I know because of my relationships and connection. I will tell you this. Your bigger TSDs, their goals for new agents, new partners in their channel yearly, we'll just say that it's 5 figures. Okay. So think about that. If you've got, we'll say the top 4 TSDs in the space, they're saying they're going to add, in somewhere between 5,000 to 7,000 agents this year. Think about that. Mm-hmm. So there's more, to your point, Daniel. There's more agents out there. And what does that mean? One, it means there's more people that you could be potentially competing against. But to your point, and this is where I want to come back to, is the way that you stand out is the way that you have 2 ways. One, niche down. Find out who you're uniquely qualified to serve, who you know their business like the back of your hand. That's going to separate you. 2, bring solutions, tech stacks, because the one thing about a lot of these people that are new to the space, they're going to be focused on one product, because our space it's very difficult to make it in brand new, because there's so much, right? So the easiest way to try to make is focus on one product and try to sell that product. So where you guys can bring solutions, tech stack solutions, and speak uniquely to that customer niche, that's what's going to help you to win.
I was having a similar conversation yesterday, and one of the things is partners. You have, if you are new, right? If you've gone out on your own, if you're a one-man band, if you're a new organization, you're chasing your burn, right? I did it in 2017. I cashed out my 401k to start my business, and I had to chase my burn to do it. And that's what a lot of partners, a lot of new partners attempt to do. And I say attempt because if you would have asked me 7 years ago, I would say everybody should be a partner. What are you talking about? Why? We're not going to have direct reps in the future. And I could not be more wrong now, because not everybody has the temperament for it, because the number one mistake that new partners make is they chase a spiff because they're chasing their burn. They have a bad implementation for a customer. They spend too much time supporting that bad implementation and groveling to try to save a customer relationship. And it was, hey, look at me. If you're a partner, do you actually know what your customer acquisition cost is? Your true customer acquisition cost? Do you? Do you know what your actual hourly rate is to convert on that customer sale? Do you? Because if you don't, you're already behind. Like, you've got to know what it costs for you to add. Cool. Why do you think everybody wants to do, here's 3 quotes? Cool. Pick us when you can, because it's the lowest amount of time, effort, and energy to convert a sell that if you slot, it's why everybody's chased multi-location whatever for years, because in the channel as partners, we know that if I put a new circuit in for a healthcare entity, it ain't coming out in 2 decades. Like, come on now. And so, like, understand what your what your customer acquisition cost is, and work backwards from there. And if you go to your existing book today and you do that exercise, eye-opening. It's going to blow your mind about some of the deals. Man, we got this massive win. Some of the biggest wins I've ever had took years. And so when you break it down, was it worth it? You got to answer that question.
Love it. And that comes back to the ICP. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So Daniel, I could talk to you all day, my guy. But we don't have all day because we got to go out there and do some business. I want you to leave them with one piece of advice. And this can be to anyone. It could be to partners. It could be to suppliers. It could be to TSDs. Just one piece of advice, one thing that you think that they should focus on so that we can continue to grow.
I'm going to bridge this back to where we started. I'm the eternal optimist. I am. I think a book recommendation everybody should read is Rational Optimism. It's a fantastic book about where we are and where we're going. We actually do have things are better than they've ever been. You just have to frame it from that perspective. One piece of advice specifically for the channel right now, especially with the advent of AI and where we are with a lot of those technologies. I was listening to a podcast and an interview with the voice actress. Check it out if you want to go find it. But the voice actress who actually did Bluetooth connecting, like that woman who is on tens of thousands of millions of devices because she was the voice actress who played into it. And she had an interesting perspective on it. She actually sees voice acting as becoming this boutique product offering moving forward when you have a rise of AI voice actors and the uniqueness of it, because when everything can be generated from a quote and a sales perspective, think about it. What are 99% of decision makers doing today before they even talk to their partner? What are the best contact center platforms for me to use in this business? Boom, submit. Oh, cool. These are the ones you should use. And so that's what 99% of buyers are doing now. And so the uniqueness as we move into the future of the nuanced of the people and the understanding and the relationships is going to play a bigger impact, not a smaller impact moving forward. And so that was kind of it. It's going to become more important, not less important, because it is real. And because when everything is telling you something, you've got to put your trust somewhere. And so, because when you can trust nothing, you've got to trust someone. So I guess that's the piece I wanted to land it on. I think that partners are going to become increasingly more valuable for what they add if they have a niche and they understand and they're solving and adding value to their customers and not just trying to do a transact, like just not trying to transact. So
love it. Love it. Way to land that, my friend. And hey, if you guys are out there looking for a AI voice actor, well, how's this voice for you? I'm saying.
Sold.
My mother's an actor and she's done a lot of voice. It's in the genes. Let's go. Come get me. Hey, Daniel, brother, I love you. I appreciate you. And this has been so much fun. And for those of you that have watched this, have listened to it and you've enjoyed it, or maybe you didn't enjoy it. I don't know. I mean, this is really about having conversations that are going to agitate your brain, going to get you to start thinking. You guys aren't going to agree with everything that is said on the show. And guess what? That's okay. I don't need you to agree with everything, but I need you to think, because that's where growth is going to happen. I need you to think. I need you to act. And that's what our objective is to say the things that you're probably saying or thinking behind closed doors. Let's get it front and center. Let's talk about it. Let's address it. If you got value from this, subscribe, like, share, let people know. Okay. This is all about you. It's all about the community. So I thank you all for joining us today. If you have some comments, make sure that you make comments and all that good stuff. Daniel's contact information will be in the show notes. Please reach out to him if you enjoyed what he had to say. If you want some coffee advice, he's your guy. But make sure you put him on a timer, okay? Because he's going to go, and he's going to go until you say stop. And hey, and by the way, if you want to know a little bit about whiskey, he knows a lot too. He knows probably more than me. He's a pretty sharp guy. Daniel, thanks again, my friend. And I can't wait to see you again in person.
Later.
And peace out, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to Shut the Hell Up and Sell Unfiltered. If you found today's conversation valuable, make sure you subscribe, rate, and review the show. For more resources, including gap assessments, custom sales consulting, or online courses designed to take your sales game to the next level, visit me at ronnellrichards.com or head over to sayless.academy. Until next time, remember, stop talking, start listening, and shut the hell up and sell.
Here to show up and show out. Here to show up and show out. Here to show up and show out.